Day 299 Maccabean Revolt, 2 Maccabees 2, Sirach 42-44, Proverbs 24 verses 8-9. Let's begin. 2 Maccabees 2. Now it is found in the descriptions of the prophet Jeremiah that he ordered those who transmigrated to take the fire, just as it was signified and as he ordered, into the transmigration. And he gave them the law, so that they would never forget the commandments of the Lord, and so that they would not go astray in their minds, seeing the idols of gold and silver, and their ornaments. And in this manner, with other sayings, he exhorted them, lest they remove the law from their heart. Furthermore, it was in the same writing, how the prophet, by divine response, ordered that the tabernacle and the ark be made to accompany him, until he exited from the mountain, where Moses ascended and saw the inheritance of God. And arriving there, Jeremiah found a place in a cave. And he brought both the tabernacle, and the ark, and the altar of incense into that place, and he obstructed opening. And certain ones of those who followed him approached to make note of the location, but they were not able to find it. But when Jeremiah knew of it, he blamed them, saying, "The place shall be unknown, until God shall gather together the congregation of the people, and until he may be favorably inclined. And then the Lord will reveal these things, and the majesty of the Lord shall appear, and there will be a cloud, just as it was also manifested to Moses, and just as he manifested these when Solomon petitioned that the place should be sanctified to the great God. For he also drew upon wisdom magnificently, and so, having wisdom, he offered the sacrifice of the dedication and the consummation of the temple. And just as Moses prayed to the Lord, and fire descended from heaven and consumed the holocaust, so also Solomon prayed and fire descended from heaven and consumed the holocaust. And Moses said that it was consumed because the sin offering was not eaten. And similarly, Solomon also celebrated the 8 days of the dedication. Moreover, these same things were put into the descriptions and commentaries of Nehemiah, including how, when constructing a library, he gathered together from the regions the books of the prophets, and of David, and the epistles of the kings, and from the holy gifts. And similarly, Judas also gathered together all the things that were destroyed by the war that befell us, and these are with us. Therefore, if you desire these things, send those who may carry them to you. And so, since we will be celebrating the purification, we wrote to you. Therefore you will do well, if you keep these days. But we hope that God, who has freed his people and has rendered to all the inheritance, and the kingdom, and the priesthood, and sanctification, just as he promised in the law, will quickly have mercy on us, and will gather us together from under heaven into the holy place. For he has rescued us from great perils, and he has purged the place. The truth about Judas Maccabeus, and his brothers, and the purification of the great temple, and the dedication of the altar. And also about the battles, which pertained to Antiochus the Illustrious, and his son Eupator. And about the illuminations, which came from heaven to those who acted on behalf of the Jews with fortitude, was such that they, though few, vindicated the entire region and put to flight a multitude of the barbarous. And recovered the most famous temple in the whole world, and freed the city, and restored the laws that were abolished. For the Lord, with all tranquility, was acting favorably toward them. And similar things as have been comprised in 5 books by Jason the Cyrenian, we have attempted to abridge into 1 volume. For, considering the multitude of the books, and the difficulty that those who are willing to undertake the narrations of histories find, due to the multitude of events, we have taken care, so that, indeed, those who are willing to read may have delights of the mind, and so that, in truth, the studious may more easily be able to commit it to memory, and also so that all readers may find it useful. And indeed we ourselves, who have taken up the task of abridging this work, have no easy labor. For, in truth, more correctly, we have assumed an activity full of vigilance and sweat. Just as those who prepare a feast also seek to be attentive to the will of others, for the sake of the gratitude of many, we willingly undertake the labor. Indeed, leaving to the authors the truths about particular details, we instead have been devoted to this form, striving to be brief. For, just as the architect of a new house will have concern for the entire structure, and in truth, He who takes care to paint it will seek out what is fitting to adorn it, so also should such things be considered by us. Moreover, to collect knowledge, and to order words, and to discuss every particular point attentively, is the duty of the author of a history. Yet truly, to pursue brevity of speech, and to shun the extension of matters, is conceded to an abbreviator. Therefore, here we will begin the narration. Let so much be sufficient to say in preface. For it is foolish to go on and on before the account, when the account itself is succinct. Sirach 42-44. You should not repeat a claim heard from the revealing of a hidden word. And then, truly, you will be without shame, and you will find favor in the sight of all men. You should not accept the reputation of someone, so that you would sin, nor should you be confounded in any of the following things. In the law of the Most High and His covenant, or by giving a judgment to justify the impious. In a word among companions and fellow travelers, or by distributing the inheritance of friends. In the fairness of scales and weights, or in acquiring much or little. By the corruption of buying and negotiating, or in the ample discipline of children, or in causing the side of a wicked servant to bleed. A seal is good over a wicked wife. Where there are many hands, seal and deliver all things by number and weight, and truly, give and receive everything in writing. You should not have shame in correcting the senseless, the foolish, and those youths who would judge their elders. And so shall you be well instructed in all things and well approved in the sight of all the living. The vigilance of a father for his daughter is hidden, and his concern for her takes away his sleep. For perhaps, in her adolescence, she might be brought into adulthood. Or when she lives with her husband, she might become hateful. In her virginity she might be defiled, and then she may be found to be pregnant in her father's house. Or perhaps, when she lives with her husband, she might stray, or at least become barren. Keep a close watch over a self-indulgent daughter. Otherwise, at some time, she might bring you into disgrace before your enemies, and into disrepute in the city, and into reproach among the people, and so she may confound you before the multitude of the people. She should not choose to gaze upon the beauty of every man, and she should not choose to spend her time in the midst of married women. For a moth goes forth from garments, and iniquity over a man goes forth from a woman. Yet iniquity over a man is better for her than if a married woman, seeking to benefit her, instead leads her into confusion and disgrace. And now, I will remember the works of the Lord, and I will announce what I have seen. The words of the Lord are in His works. The sun illuminates and considers all things, and its work shows the fullness of the glory of the Lord. Has not the Lord caused the holy ones to describe all His miracles, which the all-powerful Lord has firmly established in His glory? He has examined the abyss and the hearts of men, and He has considered their astuteness. For the Lord comprehends all knowledge, and He has gazed upon the signs of the times, announcing the things of the past, as well as the things of the future, and revealing the traces of hidden things. No thought passes by Him unnoticed, and no word can conceal itself from Him. He has adorned the magnificent works of His wisdom. He is before eternity, and even unto eternity. And nothing can be added, and nothing can be taken away. And He has no need of any counselor. Oh, how desirable are all His works! And all that we consider is but a spark. All these works exist, and they remain in the present age, and they all obey Him in every purpose. All things are twofold, one facing another, and He has not made anything to be lacking. He has confirmed each thing as good. And who would tire of beholding His glory? The firmament on high is His beauty. It is the beauty of heaven in a vision of glory. The sun, at its appearance, announces its journey. It is an instrument of wonder, a work of the Most High. At midday, it scorches the earth. And in the presence of its heat, who would be able to endure? It is like the custodian of a furnace in its works of heat. In 3 ways the sun acts, scorching the mountains, emitting fiery rays, and shining with its beams that can blind the eyes. Great is the Lord who made it, and at His word, it hurries on its journey. And the moon, in all its phases, serves to mark the seasons and to be a sign of the times. From the moon is the sign of a feast day, it is a light which diminishes at its consummation. A month is named according to its phases, increasing wonderfully at its culmination. It is an instrument of the armies on high, shining gloriously in the firmament of heaven. The glory of the stars is the beauty of heaven, the Lord illuminates the world from on high. At the words of the Holy One, they stand for judgment, and they will never fail in their vigilance. Consider the rainbow, and bless the one who made it. It is very beautiful in its splendor. It encompasses the heavens with the circle of its glory. The hands of the Most High made it appear. By his order, he hastens the snow, and he spurs on the lightning to express his judgment. In like manner, his storehouses are opened, and the clouds fly out like birds. By his greatness, he has positioned the clouds, and the hailstones have been broken. At his glance, the mountains will be shaken, and by his will, the south wind will blow. The voice of his thunder will reverberate through the earth, by a storm from the north, and by a gathering of the whirlwind. And like the birds landing in a flock upon the earth, he sends down the snow, and its descent is like the arrival of a swarm of locusts. The eye is in wonder at the beauty of its whiteness, and the heart is astonished at its falling. He will pour out frost like salt upon the earth, and when it freezes, it will become like the tops of thistles. The cold north wind blows, and the water freezes into crystals. It will rest upon every gathering of water, and it will clothe the water like a breastplate. And it will devour the mountains, and burn the wilderness, and extinguish the greenery, like a fire. Relief for all is in the hurried arrival of a cloud. And the lowly dew will arrive to meet the heat and overpower it. At his word, the wind grows quiet, and by his thought he appeases the abyss, for the Lord has planted islands in it. Let those who navigate the sea describe its perils. And when we have heard it with our ears, we will wonder. There are illustrious and wondrous works, the various kinds of wild animals, and all manner of cattle, and the great creatures of the sea. Through him, the end of their journey is confirmed, and by his word, all things fit together. We can say much, and yet still lack for words. But the consummation of our words is this: he is in all things. What would we be able to do to glorify him? For the Almighty himself is above all his own works. The Lord is terrible, and exceedingly great, and his power is wonderful. Glorify the Lord as much as you are able, yet still he will far exceed this. For his magnificence is beyond wonder. Bless the Lord and exalt him, as much as you are able. But he is beyond all praise. When you exalt him, use all your ability, and do not cease in this labor. For you can never comprehend him. Who will see him and explain? And who will magnify him, as he is from the beginning? There are many things, hidden from us, which are greater than these things. For we have seen but a few of his works. But the Lord has made all things, and he has given wisdom to those who act with piety. Let us praise the men of glory, and our ancestors in their generation. The Lord has wrought great glory, by his own magnificence, from ancient times. There are those who rule with their authority, men of great virtue, who are gifted with prudence. There are those who announce among the prophets, with the dignity of prophets. And there are those who rule over the present generation, by the virtue of prudence, with very holy words for the people. There are those who, by their skill, compose musical themes, so as to set the verses of Scripture to music. There are men rich in virtue, who make a study of beauty, who live in peacefulness in their houses. All these obtained glory in their generations, and they had praise in their days. They left behind a name for those who were born of them, so that their praises might be described. But for some of them, there is no memorial. They have passed away as if they had never existed, and they have become as if they had never been born, and their sons along with them. But these were men of mercy, whose pious deeds have not failed. Good things continue with their offspring. Their descendants are a holy inheritance, and their offspring stand firm in the covenants. And because of them, their sons remain even unto eternity. Their offspring and their glory will not be forsaken. Their bodies were buried in peace, and their name lives on, from generation to generation. Let the people declare their wisdom, and let the church announce their praise. Enoch pleased God, and he was transferred to paradise, so that he might offer repentance to the nations. Noah was found to be perfect and just, and so, in the time of wrath, he was made a reconciliation. As a result, there was a remnant left for the earth, when the great flood was made. The covenants of the world were placed with him, so that all flesh would not be wiped away by the great flood. Abraham was the great father of a multitude of nations, and no one was found to be like him in glory. He observed the law of the Most High, and he formed a covenant with him. In his flesh, he caused the covenant to stand, and when tested, he was found to be faithful. Therefore, by an oath, he gave glory to him among his people, so as to increase him like the dust of the earth, and to exalt his offspring like the stars, and to give an inheritance to them from sea to sea, and from the river even to the ends of the earth. And he acted in like manner toward Isaac, because of his father Abraham. The Lord gave the blessing of all the nations to him, and he confirmed his covenant upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessings, and he gave an inheritance to him, and he distributed to him the portion of the 12 tribes. And he preserved for him men of mercy, who were found to have grace before the eyes of all flesh. Proverbs 24 verses 8 through 9. Whoever intends to do evil shall be called foolish. The intention of the foolish is sin, and the detractor is an abomination among men.